Welcome to this week's Mental Health Monday. I am so excited to be here with you today. I am Kristen Boyce, licensed and marriage therapist, family therapist with Pathways to Healing Counseling. And Noblesville Mayor Chris Jensen was not able to be with us today. However, we have two very special guests joining us that are in charge of Noblesville Care Act team, and we're so excited they're here today. So I want to introduce you to Ben Luger and Maisha Hudson, the social worker that has just joined the team. So welcome to Mental Health Monday.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so glad you are here to talk about the Noble Care Act. First thing we do typically on Mental Health Monday is we start off with deep breathing. And this is just a resource that everybody can access. If you feel anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, you kind of feel activated in your nervous system. So I welcome everybody to practice the deep breathing with us. We'll do 2 deep breaths, and we call this square breathing. You're going to inhale through your nose, hold for 4. So you'll inhale for 4, hold for 4, and then slowly exhale out your mouth. And what this does is it resets your nervous system, helps us all calm down and come back to center. So let's practice together, feet on the floor. Big deep inhale through your nose. Hold. And release all that tension and tightness in your body. Let's do one more. Deep inhale through your nose. And let go. Okay, we're just going to kind of notice how that feels in your nervous system. And we welcome anybody to make notes, ask questions in the chat. We love an interactive audience. So feel free to chime in as you have questions or you have thoughts that come up, because this is for you. We want you to know that we care about you, you matter, you're important, and that's why we're doing Mental Health Monday, is to make an impact, have resources so you know what's available when in crisis, when you're struggling, because we all have stuff at the end of the day. So what I do is I thought we'd introduce each of you. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what your role is in Noble Care Act, and what is Noble Care Act exactly for those that have no idea what it is. So Ben, we'll
I'll
start
start.
with you.
Yeah. So I'm Sergeant Ben Luger with the Noblesville Police Department. I'm the coordinator and supervisor for our Noble Acts program. I've been with the department for just about 8 years now. I also am the dad and handler for Luna, our first police therapy canine, who's behind us as well, getting a little loving. Um, and happy to be here.
And I'm Maisha. I am the social worker. I've been here
2 months.
2 months now, and it's going well so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm new to public safety, but it's good.
Welcome, Maisha. I'm so glad you're here. And hi, Luna. Yay. Oh, hi, Luna. You want to be a part of the conversation? Oh, therapy dogs and, service dogs. We are so grateful for them. So tell us a little bit about the Noble Care Act. What is it exactly? If everybody's like, I have no idea what that is.
So Noble Act is a program the city of Noblesville started in 2020, right before COVID hit. And the idea was to join our police and our fire department with a lot of our community resources to help serve our residents in a holistic manner. We recognize that residents of our community would have police interactions, they may have fire department or EMS interactions. We weren't always necessarily talking very well with it, and this allowed us to then see the situation in its totality to identify causes and stressors of mental health, addiction, homelessness, social needs, and start making those proactive connections to our local community providers who are the experts in that field. We want to kind of walk alongside our residents and help triage needs, get them pointed in the right direction so that way they're healthy, happy, and safe. The team consists of myself on the police side. Maisha is our social worker, and then we have a resource paramedic, Dennis Parker, who the three of us are the primary components of the program. We work hand in hand on situations because we each have a different specialty and a different area of expertise, so we can kind of balance each other out look at things from different perspectives. And then we have 3 other what we call EMS duty officers. Those are paramedics with the fire department that work their normal 24-hour shift. They have their own vehicle, so they can respond with the fire and the EMS crews as well as police to help de-escalate situations, get connections to service providers started right there on scene. And then a big part of what we do is we operate in 3 primary avenues. We have our crisis response, where we can respond to the 911 call itself, come in there, help de-escalate, start making safety plans, connection to care, evaluations. We have a follow-up model where if there was an interaction with police or EMS for some sort of crisis, and that crisis can range from mental health to addiction to homelessness to rent assistance or food insecurities, we'll follow up with those families, trying to, again, identify those unmet needs, get them connected to our local resources and partners to hopefully mitigate a future situation. We want to reduce incarcerations. We want to reduce unnecessary hospitalizations, and we want ultimately are trying to help our staff and our residents be healthy, happy, and safe. And that last model is what we're doing today. Is we love to teach, we love to be proactive in our community and provide education about the resources that are available to our community members. So we'll teach community groups, we'll partner with our local groups and give them mental health training, awareness training, educate and advocate for our program for residents to call us directly if they need something, so we can prevent an ambulance having to show up, prevent a loss of life, prevent a future crisis. We do have a non-emergency Noble Act phone number that we encourage residents that if they don't need a police officer, they don't need an ambulance, it's not an emergency, but we start seeing those early warning signs that something's not right with the loved one or themselves, they can call us directly, and we're happy to do a home visit. We're happy to talk to them on the phone, make referrals, provide guide, or just be an ear to listen to.
What's that non-emergency number? If someone's like, you know what, I don't even know what that is.
So that number is 317-770-1420. And when you call that, you'll have an option to talk to myself. You can talk to Maisha, or you can talk to Dennis Parker, our paramedic. So based on what your needs are or what your comfortability level is, you can talk to any of us and get processes started right then and there.
So what would be, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the City of Noblesville's website, we're constantly updating it. We have a link to a lot of these great resources and providers, and they're broken up by category of what you need. So you may not know specifically what you're looking for, but you have a general idea of, I'm looking for something related to housing. There's a bunch of different resources, contact numbers, phone numbers, links to their website on there, so you can get things started hopefully as soon as possible.
Is that under Noble Act on the website? Where would somebody find that? Okay.
Yep. So if you go to the City of Noblesville website, on the top banner, it'll say Department's Public Safety. If you hit Public Safety, you'll have the option to go to the Police Department website, the Fire Department website, or our Noble Act site as well. And that's where those resources will be on there. There's safety planning information, there's crisis line information, as well as these great resource partners.
Fantastic. Now, let's just walk through. If someone's like, I don't know what would constitute like a non-emergency event. Like, what are some examples of someone that might call in for a non-emergency event?
Something we see a lot are family members that are providing in-home care for a loved one. There's not a medical issue going on right now. There's not an immediate safety need, but they start recognizing those warning signs. My loved one's withdrawing. They're changing their routines, or their behavior just seems to be a little out of whack, or something's going on. Those are times where you can reach out to us. We're happy to start getting things kind of proactively planned to hopefully mitigate that 911 call that would happen in the future had we not started resources. It's always so much easier to get resources started ahead of time in those earlier stages of a crisis than in that full-blown crisis mode. We work a lot with our homelessness population as well. So working on getting them into care, resources, shelter, housing. So those are opportunities where we can be really effective as well.
Let's say someone wants to do a wellness check. They're worried about their loved one. They haven't heard from their loved one, or they're just concerned. Would that be a non-emergency situation, or that would be an emergency situation, or does it depend?
It'll depend on the given circumstances. At the end of the day, our program typically, unfortunately, right now works Monday through Friday. So on the weekends, we have representation from the program through our fire department, our EDOs, our EMS duty officers. but we are pretty busy in the community. So welfare checks, things of that nature, can always start with the non-emergency line unless you've worked with us in the past, or again, you don't need someone kind of there right now. Then you're more than welcome to call us. And again, we can always refer it back to our patrol officers if need be. But the biggest thing is going to be if you need someone right then and there, please go ahead and call 911 or call the non-emergency line to get someone there on scene. All of our staff on both the police and fire side buy into this Noble Act program, and they call us quite frequently on this when they're out on scene, when they recognize other mental health issues or social needs going on, and we can come out or provide guidance over the phone. Right before this situation, we were working with the family because the road identified a need, and we were able to come in and provide them support.
Wonderful. Tell us when Luna enters the scene.
So Luna goes with me to every single call. She has her own little hammock in the back of the police car that she swings and rides in to keep her safe. And then it all depends on the client themselves. So we'll always go up first ourselves, kind of assess the scene for safety, assess the need, start building that rapport with the individual. And then if they are comfortable and want Luna there, we can bring her into their home, the side of the road, wherever we are, to start utilizing her to help de-escalate situations, kind of calm things down. If we are providing a transport to a treatment provider or a shelter or some program, and they're comfortable with it, Luna will ride in the ambulance or the police car with that client, again, to help kind of keep those anxieties. It's scary, it can be stressful down. There's a ton of research out there that shows how powerful a dog can be and just calming us emotionally, letting our brain kind of reset a little bit. And then she's got special commands that can reduce kind of heart rate, blood pressure, kind of the physiological effects of like stress and anxiety.
So what have you seen in terms of the statistics with Noble Act? How many calls are you on? What's the success rate? Like, talk to us a little bit about the result of the program.
Yeah. So right now, I would say our success rate is around that 65 to 70%. And what we deem a success is we engaged with the family and we were able to make an appropriate referral, and that client was able to engage with that appropriate referral. We understand there's going to be, situations that arise where something else happens. It's not like a broken arm where you put a cast on it, forget about it, and it's better all over. It's an ongoing process. So even once we make that referral, we're still available to clients. You can always call us back in, or we can always re-engage and work on some other avenue and some other plan. We've probably responded and served, I think last look, we've done over 6,000 to 7,000 encounters of some type where we've interacted with a client or been making referrals or did some sort of act on behalf of a client to get them the resources or the supports they were looking for.
Wonderful. Maisha, tell us a little bit about your role specifically.
So my role, I kind of play, I guess, many roles in this just because of my background as a social worker have allowed me to work in many different settings with different populations. So Dennis, our paramedic, he does more of the medical side of things, but because I came from the hospital, I know a lot about the medical social work and that side of things. So I kind of help him as well. Ben, he kind of stands his ground with the police part. But for the most part, my role is to get involved with these families, walk alongside them, connect them with the resources, and not just only connect them with the resources, but follow up to ensure that the connection has been made so that we can truly get these individuals from a place of crisis to some sort of stability in their own way. A lot of times, I've seen in my line of work as a social worker, connecting individuals with, resources is just one part of it, but the follow up is the biggest part because not everybody is comfortable with that transition, to connecting with these resources that they're not comfortable with. And so once we get involved, we kind of build rapport with them. And so they're used to us. And so that safe handoff is important to me, just to ensure that we reduce, somewhat of the recidivism rate, with the clients that we're working with continuing to come back to us, that they have these supports that they can really rely on, to be able to get from crisis to stability to thriving. You know what I'm saying? So that is really my role, is to just be whatever I need to be in the moment, for the individuals that I encounter, and to ensure that they are truly connected with the resources. And then I continue to follow up probably longer than I should, but it's just because I want to ensure that, the individuals get what they need. There's so many people in crisis, and mental health is at an all-time high. I mean, in my line of work, I've never seen it as high as it is right now. And so for me, my main focus is to ensure that they have what they need. So
I
I
love
wear many hats and I play many roles, and I'm just a yes social worker to helping individuals.
you guys are doing such a powerful work. And I think what the piece that I think is key is you care. You're following up because
Yeah.
there's so much going on at the time, probably of
Yeah.
that call, that to
Yeah.
follow up and make sure they're getting what they need, they're getting plugged in, they're getting the resources. That says a lot. There's not a lot. I mean, even when we go to appointments, we don't have a lot of people following up on a regular basis.
No.
So that's
No.
a huge distinction for this program, is showing that you care about the person and their mental health and emotional well-being, physical well-being, and the system as a whole, the family system as a whole, that they're getting the resources they need.
Yeah.
So you're playing a
That's
pivotal
my role.
role. Yes, we're so glad to have you.
Well,
I'm really
super blessed to have Maisha. She's been an absolute rock star.
They give me more credit than I deserve.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I was curious about addictions, because we're seeing the addiction rate, again, to your point, mental health is at an all-time high in terms of crisis, and we're seeing a big swing in addiction. How
Mhm.
much do you work with addiction specifically on calls, and then the follow-up piece?
Addiction plays a large component in a lot of these crises that we interact, especially when it comes to the police side of response, because you have individuals that are impaired. The addiction is a disease, and that's a health issue and mental health part of it. But then there's the legal side of things, of having, the possession of that syringe, the possession of that addicted substance can cause a crime and criminal issue. So we try to be as involved as we can, so when it's appropriate, to divert individuals away from the criminal justice system into a successful treatment program. With addiction, we have partnerships where we can get recovery coaches connect with clients, so individuals that have that lived experience that can kind of relate on that deeper level, and work with them and navigate a complex process of getting into sobriety. It can go a million different ways, so they really help, and we rely on them a lot because of their wealth of experience and compassion and care to support our individuals that are suffering from addiction.
So if someone says, I'm just trying to make this applicable, someone's listening and they're like, I have a family member that's struggling with addiction and I'm lost. Like, they are driving, maybe using substances, their functioning is decreased. Are you involved in that? Like, when would they call? I just want to make this applicable for people listening. When would they call, like, the non-emergency number? Would that be a situation where they would call, or
I would
no?
encourage people to call us for that. Even if the client's not ready at that moment in time, hopefully we can start at least getting supports in for the family members as well. Because what we want to focus on the client that's in crisis, but we always try to provide supports to the caregivers and the loved ones as well. That's a taxing burden on them too. That can be stressful. So we can at least get the family members some supports as well, and we'll start trying to plant that seed. Get them connected with a recovery coach. We'll have sit down conversations with them. We'll let them play with Luna. We'll walk with them, and the moment they're ready to accept that referral, we'll get things in place for them. I provide transportation a lot of the times. I've driven to Albion, Indiana, and to Evansville, Indiana, to get people into treatment programs that didn't have a way to get there. So we'll move heaven and earth how we can. But if you have a loved one that you're concerned about that is struggling with addiction, again, feel free to give us a call. We're happy to talk to you about the situation, talk with the client, talk with you, make some referrals, provide education on communication styles, for when that client is truly ready for that change in behavior and that referral, we can get the ball rolling pretty quickly.
What I was going to add to what Ben was saying too is what we're really seeing a lot is, there's people that are not ready. And so we respect that, that they're not ready, but then there's families that struggle. And so what I understand from my, background is that the family sometimes is affected before the individual. And so being able to meet the family where they are to give them the education and the tools to begin to prepare themselves. We're actually working with a family, right now in this situation. And being there, being a support for them is the best thing, because when the individuals are not ready, we have to respect that. But to prepare the family how to continue to deal with their loved one, knowing that they're struggling and they're having these issues, just explaining, that the road to recovery is an individual path. You know what I'm saying? And so once that individual is ready, we're right here, but we're also here to support them as they support their loved ones, and just teaching them, like Ben said, the communication strategies, how to communicate, and the boundaries that need to be put in place as family members. You know what I'm saying? And just how to get them the help that they need, because recovery is going to be for the family. It's not just going to be for the individual. So just to ensure that everybody, considering the whole family unit, is getting the help that they need. And that's kind of where we start. But like I said, Ben, he will drive a person anywhere. If you need any, you know, assistance with a ride, to a treatment facility. He will go above and beyond, to do that. We're just here to really help in any way we can, for the individuals that we serve or that need our assistance.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for the work you all are doing on this program. I think the other piece that I'm wondering if people are wondering about is in the high school. We have lots of going on, as you all are well aware, with developmentally, and there's lots of pressure, social pressures. We've got lots in the mix. Are you in the high school talking to students? How does that, are you doing programming with Luna talking about these addiction and mental health, or is there plans to do that?
We are not right now. Noblesville Schools has a great SRO, school resource officer program. So our officers in the school are doing a lot of this training and education for students around a lot of these topics and a bunch of other safety issues. But we do have a great relationship with the school counselors and the school social workers. So if we do have a client that is involved in the schools and something's going on in the home or in the school, we work with the families to help get everybody linked in as best we can to provide that comfort and that support so that child and that family are receiving as many possible services.
I think that's the key that I want everybody to hear, that you're a resource. You provide resources. You plug people in, family members, someone that might be struggling with mental health or addiction or emotional well-being, that you take the time to listen, understand, really get to the root of what might be going on, and then providing resources for the family members, for the person that might be struggling. And then you follow up. I want people to be clear on what it is, so then they'll utilize the services offered, because a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was available. So even the fact that you're helping them with how to have conversations around mental health or addiction is so significant, because people say, I don't know. I've tried everything and I don't know what to do. And so the fact that you provide that education, how do you approach somebody? What would you say? How do you approach someone that might be struggling and you don't know what to say or do? So for those listening that are like, I just don't even know how to approach it, what would be your recommendations on how to approach someone that might be struggling with mental health?
My recommendation would be coming in really from a non-judgmental standpoint. A lot of people lack education on mental health, and they confuse mental health and mental illness. And so understanding the difference between the two and how to manage both. That would be, and so a lot of times with me, I just go in with a listening ear, and I go in from a place of empathy, just from a place of, I don't know you, you don't know me, I'm here to help you, what can I do? And a lot of times that's how I'm able to build somewhat of rapport, to get individuals to start talking. I don't directly go in and say, hey, I know you're struggling. they already, some of them know that and some of them don't, but that's not what they want to hear. They just want someone to listen. And so then when they give me the opportunity, then I give my feedback. And so that's how I approach a lot of our on the scene calls. I say, hey, tell me what's going on. How can I help you? I mean, because a lot of people just want to hear you say, how can I help you? Like, what can I do? What are you struggling with? What are you dealing with? I might not even say what you're struggling with. I might say, how is your day going? And then that gets it started. You know what I'm saying? And I might get cussed out. I don't know, but just starting right where they are. And for me, I'm just kind of sensitive to the scene. So depending on the situation determines what I'll say and how I will approach the individual.
And I would recommend, I really, we teach a lot of our officers the 5 universal truths. So everybody wants to feel respected. People prefer, want to be asked rather than told or given threats. They want to know why. They prefer options, and they want a chance at a second chance. So if you can keep those 5 universal truths in mind when you're working with someone, that can really help build towards that rapport. So you need that rapport before you can start getting influence and making a behavioral change in what's going on. I love what Maisha talks about and the empathy. That's our bread and butter. If you need someone to kick in the door on the big SWAT call, I'm probably not your officer. But if you need someone to just sit there and listen, a shoulder to lean on, I would love to do that all day long. Just knowing empathy is always key, and being non-judgmental, taking those universal truths, it'll plug right in, and you'll start to see individuals, and we see it on a daily basis. Just like we did the breathing at the beginning, that physical weight of that crisis starts to lift and be a little less heavy, and then we can start having productive conversations. The other thing we encourage a lot of our clients and our families is hopefully you have a fire safety plan. Hopefully you have a meetup point if there's a disaster or something like that. Do you have a mental health plan? Do you have a safety plan that you have written down that everybody in the family is aware of and kind of agrees to? So when we work with clients, we will do safety plans, and part of that safety plan is, again, allowing the family to know how best to help you in that crisis situation. So as loved ones, a lot of times we have the best intentions. We want to help, but we don't know how to help in that moment in the way that the person in crisis wants help. So those safety plans can be a good guidelines of how to have those structured conversations, and also what are the warning signs, what are the triggers, what are the coping skills that help, and when is it appropriate, when do we need to call 911 and have police or EMS come to the scene because there's a safety issue, or when do we need to go to the hospital because it's gotten to that severe of a situation.
I just love what you said, because you have foundational pieces in place. Every family, you have a fire plan, you have, an evacuation plan. We don't really have a mental health safety plan. I don't even think people are talking about that. Like every family needs, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I would say for people today, that Noble Care Act is a resource that a non-emergency number that plugs you into resources, and everybody needs a mental health, emotional wellness safety plan. Is there a sample of that on the website? So if people are like, I don't know, okay, so they can go to the website and find that safety plan.
So on the website, in addition to the list of all the great resources that are all around us, and we're very fortunate in this area to have access to a lot of resources, we do have our resource safety plan on there. It is a template. You're more than welcome to use that specific one or tweak it to your own individual needs and family needs. The ways art is structured is it kind of goes from least intrusive to most intrusive again. So starting on who are family, who are friends you guys can call, during a crisis situation that might be able to help kind of resolve it or calm things down, bring the tension down, or just vent to. If you're working with a counselor or a therapist, do you have their contact information? Do they have a on-call number for a crisis line that you can reach out to? Then it goes into kind of those early warning signs and what to do from a family perspective or public safety, because my officers and our medics will try to follow those safety plans as well if it's safe to do so. How do you want someone to help in those different stages of a crisis? And then it goes into, if we're exhibiting these behaviors or these certain things are going on, we need to call 911 because there's a safety issue. We want to make sure everybody in the home is safe. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, in any aspect, those when it's appropriate to call 911. And again, also if those similar, even worse behaviors, we're going to go to the hospital. And we've seen if you write it down in your own handwriting, you practice it every day, in the crisis moment, it becomes a little bit more natural to follow and to buy into it and get compliancy if we do need to go to the hospital or we do need to go to a program or do something that's a little bit more invasive than just talking about it.
I would also add to that this safety plan because I remember working with a family and I kind of went over one where it's one for the individual, but then it's one for the family. How the family can also support this individual, but also support themselves. What are some of the triggers when you see that this individual is escalated? What can you do to bring yourself down and be able to meet this individual right where they are? So I've done that before also, but then I've also encouraged families that sometimes we don't really know right off the bat what sets us off, especially if we're in crisis. So over time, you can add to your safety plan. This plan is just really to help you get through some of those tough moments, maybe when you're by yourself or even when you're with your family. It's really, I say it is, it's a communication tool. It's a way to communicate with one another on how to meet each other's needs in the moment of a crisis or just a bad day because a safety plan ain't just for crises. People can have a bad day, and I need to go to this safety plan because maybe my kids made me mad today, and this is a coping strategy that I have that I can utilize to help bring me back down emotionally. So I love that Ben had that already before I got here because that is something that I probably would have added, to what we do because it's so important. We need it. You know what I mean? I think everybody could use a safety plan. It doesn't mean you have a mental illness. You know what I'm saying? It's just if you're having a bad day, you got to figure out how to balance your mental health. You got to get yourself back to, ground level so you can use that safety plan to get you back there.
I love that. And then there's the 988 number for the mental
Mhm.
health. It's kind of the
Yeah.
911 for mental health is 988 as well. Is there anything we didn't cover as we wrap up that you feel like is important for anybody listening to know about you both or the program?
So I wore this shirt kind of specifically to CIT, so Crisis Intervention Teams. So Hamilton County, we were very blessed. The vast majority of our officers and a lot of our paramedics go through our Hamilton County Crisis Intervention training. And what that is, it's a week-long course that officers, medic, or police social workers go through, other community providers, getting that education on mental health, on addiction, on the resources in the community. So if you do have a crisis and we do need to get police out there, we do need to get EMS out there, that it's a safety issue. We need someone there to help de-escalate things, provide a transport or help make referrals. When you talk to the dispatchers, that can be really overwhelming. Our website has some information on kind of what to expect from dispatch, what questions they may ask, so you can be prepared. But I really encourage you to ask for a CIT officer. What that does is it allows our officers that are coming to recognize, hey, this is probably a mental health call, and that's going to change how they approach it a little bit. So they're already thinking about the resources. They're already thinking about getting a hold of us if we weren't dispatched on the call, to help make sure that that client and that family gets exceptional care. And our police and our fire department do a great job at that already. But I'm always big on really reinforcing, asking for that CIT officer, so everybody coming to the scene knows exactly, hey, this is a mental health concern and issue. Let's look at it from that perspective.
Okay, so let me reiterate. If you may suspect or it's a mental health issue, maybe an addiction issue, something along those lines, then ask for a CIT officer specifically. And that can help when you're making the call. And then let's give everyone the non-emergency number again. If you need a resource, you need some assistance, you feel lost, you feel overwhelmed, you don't know where to turn, maybe you've tried things, but it's a reoccurring issue, what's the number?
To get a hold of us directly, it's 317-770-1420. Then you'll have an option. The automated message will ask you, who do you want to speak to? Myself, Maisha, or Dennis. Again, this is going to be, typically we don't need someone right then and there. We're being resources started. We have questions. We want to set up a home visit for options. If you need an emergency, 911, please. The Noblesville Police Department's not emergency line for, again, we need someone, to come. We just don't need to call 911 right now. It's 317-773-1300.
Wonderful. And then if when in doubt, you can do 988, call, text 24 hours a day. If you feel lost, someone's suicidal, maybe they're having suicidal thoughts. Maybe they're thinking like, I'm a burden. I don't want to be here. They're saying things like that. That is the number also as a resource, 988. Call or text anytime. And I always tell people, don't be afraid, because they're clinicians on the other line. They're there to help you. They're there to serve you. Just like Noble Care Act is here to help you, serve you, plug in resources for you when you don't know where to go. So Ben and Maisha, thank you so much for the work you're doing in this community and making a difference. And thank you, Luna. Thank you for joining us too, Luna. Oh, Luna, this is particularly one of the most important pieces I can emphasize, because oftentimes if you've had some pet trauma, then that can be another thing. But most people really, like you said, Ben, respond well to a calming presence of a pet. So thank you, Luna, for the work you're doing. And I appreciate your time. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for Mental Health Monday. And have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.